open the chat. Hey, everybody. So we're going to get started with the gut hormone connection. This is part 2. If you weren't here last time, welcome. I'm really happy to have you. And it's a topic I'm very passionate about when it comes to gut health, because it's something that I myself had to suffer through and go through and be able to heal and now feel so much better. And just a little bit about me. My name is Melanie. I am a gut health coach. So I currently see clients one-on-one to help them heal their gut and help them overcome all these other things that end up related with gut health, like we're going to see today, the gut hormone connection. So I'm not sure why it says here about female hormone imbalances, because that was last week. But today we're going to be talking about how hormones, a little bit, how those hormones are connected to the hormones we're going to be talking about today. But the main subject is going to be about the hormones that regulate things like metabolism, sleep, stress, and how those are related to our gut. So we're going to go ahead and get started. On the next slide, let me just figure out why this is not switching up for me. Here we go. Okay, so first thing to ask ourselves is, are our hormones imbalanced? So if you guys are here, I suspect that it was because you guys might think that you might have some kind of hormone imbalance, or somebody that you know, somebody that you love has a hormone imbalance. And these questions are really great to sort of ask yourself or ask your loved one to see if there might be a more positive indication of a hormone imbalance. So, do you feel tired all the time? Fatigue, lack of energy is definitely a huge symptom when it comes to hormone imbalances, especially the hormones that we're going to be talking about today. Do you have trouble sleeping? Another indication. Do you feel tired all day, but then at night you feel so wired and like you cannot go to sleep, and then you end up going to bed super late, and then the next morning you can't wake up, and it's just this vicious cycle? Do you have frequent mood swings? Do you suffer from increased fat storage, especially around the stomach area or upper thigh area? This might sound a bit strange, but it's very related to hormone and hormone imbalance. So the next question, do you have increased cravings, either for salty foods, fatty foods, or sugary foods? Our cravings are a huge indicator of hormone imbalances as well. Do you have hives or unexplained rashes? For women, heightened PMS, which we talked a bit about in the last class, and for men, lower libido or increased fat storage. So if you've said yes to 4 or more of these questions, you are probably having a hormone imbalance. And when it comes to having a hormone imbalance, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. These are the biggest places in the body that we will see symptoms. So we talked a bit about this in the last class as well: skin and nails, digestion and elimination. We really focused on the menstrual cycle. And in this class, we're going to be focusing on stress and metabolism specifically. Now, what kind of symptoms are we going to be seeing, or what kind of diseases or disorders or imbalances? Hypothyroidism, metabolic syndrome, diabetes, like I mentioned before, cravings, especially for carbs, sugar, chocolate, weight gain, caffeine dependency, again, problems with sleep, waking up in the middle of the night, especially if you wake up in the middle of the night, like around 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and you have palpitations or a bit of anxiety when you wake up. These can all be an indication of, or common signs and symptoms of hormone. So how do hormones work? So just this class isn't about so much about hormones by themselves. We're going to see more sort of like how hormones and guts are related, and the gut is related, but I want to talk a bit about how hormones work and what organs we're talking about here, what glands we're talking about, so that way when we start talking about the connection with the gut, sort of all makes a little bit of sense. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. So how do hormones work? Hormones are critical chemical messengers for the entire body. They're made by the endocrine glands, such as the thyroid, as you can see here, pituitary glands, adrenal glands, pancreas, ovaries, and testes. So these are where all our hormones are coming from. They're all made there and then sent through the blood to different organs and tissues to then affect an action. And it's interesting that the actual word hormone comes from a Greek word that means to set in motion. So these messengers are what attach themselves to the outside of the cell to make things start happening, or should make things start happening if they're working well. And they don't only regulate our reproductive function, which we talked a bit about in the last class, but also mood, energy, weight, sleep, and more. So it's really important for all of these to be working well, these glands. But not only them, but they work very closely with our gut. And that's what we're going to see now in the next slide. How are the gut and hormones related? So talking a bit about the gut in case you guys missed the previous classes, the gut is basically this complex community of bacteria, viruses, microbes that do the work of digesting our foods, synthesizing the nutrients, so then the body can go ahead and use it as it needs to. Now, these microbes, for them to be healthy and happy, they need the right environment, they need also the right foods, they need the right balance in the body, and they dictate our health through brain function, digestion, metabolism, and hormone function, which is what we're really focusing on this time in this class. And it influences how we feel physically, mentally, emotionally, which is why there's such a huge impact on the amount of stress we feel, the amount of energy we have, how much sleep we can get or not, and more. So they really do work together because the microbiome, these bacteria, viruses, and all this community of microbes, they do affect hormone regulation. So the way the hormones are made and the way that they're also absorbed or not by the body. And we're going to understand a little bit more about how that connection is made now in the next slide. So these are a few examples of the way that the health of the gut, of the gastrointestinal system, will dictate if there is any problems with hormones. So what are some gut health problems that can affect hormones? Leaky gut is definitely one of them. Now, leaky gut we spoke about thoroughly in the first class. So if you guys missed that, definitely message me. I can send you the link to the previous classes. But just so you guys get an idea, basically leaky gut is when the intestinal lining is compromised and it doesn't work properly. So particles escape and it creates inflammation. Another gut problem that can affect our hormones is decreased stomach acid. Now, in our world, we're made to believe that the biggest problem is that we don't have enough, is that we have too much acid, which is why there's so many commercials for all of these different medicines called antacids to help decrease the production of acids. But there's actually a vast majority of people that suffer from low stomach acid, which give us symptoms that make us think we have too much acid. And having this low stomach acid influences our hormones as well. We're going to talk a bit about how. And then low microbial diversity, which just means like those gut bacteria, those gut viruses that we were talking about, the good ones, if there's not a big diversity of them, if there's not a bunch of different ones of the good kinds, then there's also going to be a problem with the hormones. So how are these gut problems linked to hormones? Well, like we talked about with leaky gut that creates inflammation, inflammation in the body automatically causes a hormone called cortisol to spike. Now, cortisol is a good hormone. It's made in our body for a reason. We need it for certain vital functions, especially when there's very acute problems in the body. For example, if you break an arm or a leg, you definitely need cortisol because that's what's going to give your body the boost for it to start healing and to put everything into place. But when this hormone is released continuously into the body, and there it creates a chronic stress in the body because there is this inflammation, then we start having issues like decreased adrenal function, because this hormone comes from the adrenal glands, and the adrenals work very closely with the thyroid. So then this can also explain thyroid imbalances. Elevated cortisol also will elevate blood sugar. So this also can explain issues with blood sugar, like diabetes, or even hypoglycemia, or even having your blood sugar feeling like very tired after a big meal. So all these things are affected by that hormone cortisol, which can be a problem created by the gut. Now, how do these things make us feel? Tired, no energy, fatigue, hard to get out of bed. So what does that lead to? Things like caffeine dependency. So like if you cannot function without coffee in the morning, like you cannot wake up, or you cannot function in the afternoon without having another cup of coffee, then this can be a sign that your adrenals are struggling because of this high level of stress in the body that could be caused by the inflammation. And another thing that we talked a bit about in the beginning is this wired and tired feeling, where you're tired the whole day. It's hard to wake up in the morning, but then at night you can't go to sleep because you feel wired, like it's too hard to fall asleep. Let me know if any of you guys have felt this way in the chat box, or know anybody that's like, they're tired the whole day, somebody in your family, or one of you that knows what it's like to feel wired and tired. I know I definitely have been there. Just let me know yes or no in the chat box. Yes. Okay, so yeah, it is really common. A lot of people struggle with this. So what's the next problem? So this is all about inflammation and cortisol. Tired all day but can't sleep at night. Exactly. This is definitely typical of adrenal fatigue, where this cortisol hormone is just functioning too much in the body. So what's a different fall asleep after coffee? Yeah. Yeah, that could be a sign of definitely adrenal fatigue, where maybe too much stress is going on. And we'll talk a bit about what we can do to manage these in just a little bit. But another thing that can impact our hormones, that is, something that's happening in the gut, is like we see here on the bottom, decreased stomach acid. It impacts nutrient absorption. So the acid in our stomach, it has enzymes to help break down the food. So that way, when it goes through the intestines, the nutrients are being able to be absorbed. But if there's not enough stomach acid for this to happen, then there isn't, when the food starts to go through the small intestine, there isn't going to be that nutrient absorption that we need to be able to benefit from all of the things that we're eating. So we could be eating the best things ever and still not feeling good, still feeling tired, still having issues with our thyroid, with blood sugar, with all of this stuff. So that's why it's really important to make sure that we are having enough stomach acid. Now, what kind of problems can this lead to? So if your nutrients aren't being absorbed by the gut, so by your intestinal lining, then the nutrients that are needed to help your thyroid function, to help your pancreas, or your blood sugar be able to be absorbed better, all of these vital minerals and vitamins, they're not being absorbed into the body. The organs can't use them, and then the problem just gets worse and worse, or continues to persist. Now, another gut problem that is linked to hormones is low microbial diversity. Now, again, we talked about that being like these good bacteria in the gut, there not being enough of them, not being enough different kinds. So how it's actually been linked that low microbial diversity can lead to a higher TSH, which is the thyroid stimulating hormone, which the higher your thyroid stimulating hormone in your labs, that's an indication that you have hypothyroid, because your brain is trying to tell your thyroid to work because it's not working enough. It's too slow. So as we can see, the gut really is crucial to the health of our gut. It really is crucial to the health of our hormones. Now, in the last class, we talked a bit about how estrogen is linked to the gut. Again, if you guys missed that class, let me know. I can send you the link. But it's good to know that a continuous overload of estrogen, so if you have an estrogen dominant problem or imbalance in your body, it can increase the risk for different kind of disorders, but specifically since we're talking about hormone disorders, your risk for diabetes and thyroid disorders. So this is definitely connected. For example, in the with the thyroid, it can result in a condition where less thyroid hormone is available. So obviously, if there's less thyroid hormone available, the thyroid is not going to work well enough, and then you're going to have symptoms of hypothyroid, low functioning thyroid. It's all really connected, and that's why it's so important to take care of all of this all together and really look at the body as a whole, versus just treating the thyroid or just treating diabetes. Really focusing on the gut as well, because it has such a huge impact in these body systems as well. Again, also with sleep, with stress, with inflammation. Now let's go ahead and talk a bit about, my gut health story actually has to do more, what really got me to on my journey of healing my gut was more digestive symptoms. And I talked about that a bit in another class where I had very severe digestive symptoms. But it's interesting that it was also coupled by symptoms that had to do with hormone imbalance, which I never had before, like extremely low energy. I used to enjoy going to the gym, and I was a very energetic and bubbly person. And then I couldn't go up a flight of stairs, not just one flight of stairs. I was already out of breath. I was already exhausted. I never wanted to do anything. I really didn't feel like myself. It also led to problems with my blood sugar. So like being hangry, not nice if I haven't eaten. Let me know if any of you guys deal with that too, or if you know any of your loved ones that get hangry. You can put it in the chat too if you know what hangry means. It's a very dangerous state to be in, or to be around somebody that is in that state. But this is all connected to the gut as well. And it was interesting to see that as my gut health improved, these things improved too. Yes, hangry is real over here. Yeah, definitely our place too. So it was really interesting to see. I never had any of these problems before, but as soon as I started having gut health issues, I started having these as well. So just proof that it really is all connected. Now, the most important part, and I'm sure this is what you guys want to know the most, how to support healthy hormones. So if the gut is such a crucial part, and if these hormones, they regulate functions that are so important, like sleep, like having enough energy to do what we have to do during the day and enjoy doing the things that we love to do and being with the people that we love to be with, how can we support healthy hormones? That way we can do all of that. So really it is focusing on the gut. So avoiding leaky gut. And again, there's a very in-depth graphic that I shared in the first class. But basically avoiding leaky gut, it has to do with a low tox lifestyle, which, if you came as part of the Oak tribe or as part of the Diamond Grove, you know all about that. So really making this switch to low tox products and having and reducing the amount of toxins in the home is really important for the gut to function well, because these toxins or pesticides and all these things that have been added to our foods and to our products, they, like personal care products, household products, they also kill our gut bacteria. They also affect our gut bacteria. They also affect our hormones. So it's really important to make this switch, but also things like eating whole foods. You know we have to eat our veggies, but the importance of really focusing on 70% of our plate being vegetables, and a wide variety of them, because our gut bacteria, for them to be diverse, for us to have a lot of the different kinds of good bacteria and viruses and all these different microbes that help us digest, that help our gut lining stay intact. They like all different kinds, they need all different kinds of nutrients that comes from all different kinds of vegetables that are all different kinds of colors. So really focusing on having more whole foods in the diet, not processed, will really help to avoid leaky gut as well. Now, another really important part of supporting healthy hormones and our gut has to do with eliminating foods that cause inflammation. Now, the question that I get asked the most after I say that is, well, what foods cause inflammation? I can't tell you. There's actually only one person that can tell you this, and that is your body. So when it comes to finding out what foods cause elimination, this is a process I go through with my clients. It's a very in-depth process. I don't recommend doing it alone, especially if you do a very intense elimination, which is usually what's needed when you have these autoimmune and high inflammation levels in the body, because it is pretty intense. But doing this and finding out exactly what your body sees as inflammation, that causes inflammation in your body, sees as an enemy to your body, is very important. Because, for example, just talking about thyroid, if someone has an undiagnosed intolerance that causes damage to the GI tract or makes it hard to digest certain foods, this impacts gut health, of course, but it also impacts the absorption and the utilization of nutrients that play a role in thyroid function, like we were talking a bit about earlier. And a really good example of this is gluten. So there's a really big link. It's not for everybody, but it has been seen that a lot of people that do have issues with thyroid also seem to deal with some level of gluten sensitivity or intolerance. And the reason why that is because there is some sort of relationship that is formed between the gluten, because to digest gluten, there needs there to be a chemical called bromide. And the problem is that when this chemical is created or is used to digest gluten, it actually replaces an essential nutrient for people to have healthy thyroid, which is iodine. So if it takes the place of iodine, iodine cannot be utilized by the thyroid, and therefore it creates an imbalance. So this can be the root cause a lot of times of iodine deficiency, which then of course affects our thyroid health, because it creates inflammation in the body, and it impacts the absorption of essential nutrients and vitamins for a healthy thyroid, like iron, calcium, vitamin B12, folate, and fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. So, which are not only essential for thyroid, but for the whole body to be in good health and to have normal function. So again, really important to provide plenty of nutrients, but really focus on trying to figure out what your personal what foods personally for you cause inflammation. Let me know if any of you guys here have tried an elimination diet. You can just say yes or no, or you can say what kind of elimination diet you've done. I'd love to know. I know a lot of people that I've spoken with have tried one, and they weren't able to still figure out. So if you did try an elimination diet, were you able to really pinpoint the foods that cause inflammation? So just let me know. I'd really like to know. So histamine, elimination. It worked. That's great. Trying it now, of course. So yeah, it's a process, but it's definitely worth it, because once you know exactly what's affecting you, you feel so much better, and you know exactly how to make food choices going forward that are going to make you feel good. Gluten, yeah. Yeah, gluten's definitely a huge one for a lot of people. So another thing that's really important, gluten and dairy. Yes, I'd say those are probably the two biggest ones. So another thing that's really important when it comes to supporting healthy hormones, we saw the effect of inflammation causing stress. So this stress hormone being elevated called cortisol. So something that's really important because the stress is not only caused by inflammation in the body, inflammation and stress can be caused by exterior stress. So if you're having too busy of a schedule, or if you're feeling stressed constantly or in fear constantly, or in this heightened like mode constantly, it's really important to bring your body back to this like calm state. So get out of the fight or flight mode and into the rest and digest mode, where the body can really, where things like the thyroid and blood sugar and all of these important functions can work and can heal the body and heal the gut. So what are some things we can do? So stress management techniques, and I share a lot of these different kinds with my clients, but I feel like the biggest one is definitely, and the most simplest, is really just deep breathing. If you can do a deep breathing exercise for 5 minutes, this is where oils come in. Bring out all your calming oils, choose your favorite calming essential oil, and do your deep breathing for 5 minutes. Doing this regularly, so like at least once a day, every day, if you can, more like morning, afternoon, night, will help your body get into this rest mode, this parasympathetic mode where the cortisol levels will come down, and therefore your hormones can work and be healthy, as well as everything else in your body, which cannot function well when it's under stress. Of course, important thing is to balance blood sugar with meals, and limit caffeine, because this can also create higher cortisol levels and stress in the body if consumed too much. So like if you're one of those people who's like on coffee number 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe trying to limit this and trying to work with maybe a health coach or a functional medicine doctor to balance your gut, so that way you have the energy and you don't need to depend on the caffeine for the energy. Now, this is a very simple graphic I like to share in each class, because sometimes we underestimate the power of our daily choices. These are things that we're told all the time to do, reduce stress, move regularly, eat whole foods, get enough sleep. And then, like I mentioned, a really crucial one is really address food sensitivities and intolerances and eliminate the foods that are causing inflammation in your body. These things can make the biggest impact in somebody's health. These are all things that are in our hands, which is great. It's not something that you depend on somebody else for, to be able to get or do, like medication or, certain therapies that you need, you need to depend on somebody else. These are all things that are in your hands to do, to reduce your stress, to move regularly, to address these food intolerances, to eat whole foods, to get enough sleep. Now, if you're somebody like me, I need like some accountability. I need some help. I need somebody to tell me exactly what I need to do. And that's what I do with my clients. I really work them through each one of these in order for them to be able to fit it into their lifestyle, into their daily routine in a way that's sustainable and a way that they enjoy. So I definitely encourage you guys, pick a simple goal from one of the things we talked about today, whether that be trying to put 70% of your plate being vegetables, trying to do deep breathing for 5 minutes a day. Pick one of these habits that I talked about throughout the class, and really stick to it for the next couple of weeks and see, you are going to feel so much better. It does make a huge difference. It's these little daily choices that really can amount to a huge difference. And I believe that is it. Yeah. So you guys can find me on Instagram at melanie.muresan. I will be speaking more in the coming weeks about elimination diets and the importance of figuring out the foods that cause inflammation. So you're more than welcome to follow along or ask me any questions on there. I'd be really glad to help. But for now, we can stop the recording. And if you guys have any questions, you can either put them in the chat box or unmute yourself and just let me know. I'd love to answer any questions that I might have left